What is going on, everybody? Xailas back here with you with another figure review. This time we're going to be taking a look at the D-Arts MewTwo. This is by Bandai Figures, and of course Pokemon is the main series that this guy is from. I'm sure you're all familiar with him. He is pretty much the most badass Pokemon of them all. He is part of the original 151 Pokemon, and I gotta say, despite all of the very cool Pokemon that have come out since the original release, this guy still, in my opinion, of course, has never been topped. Mewtwo has just maintained his position at the very top of the list as far as Pokemon in my opinion. Like I said, he's just basically, if I were to describe how I feel about Mewtwo, I feel like he is pretty much too badass for Pokemon. Like, I feel like he's from some other kind of anime or some other series where it's got a much more serious tone, and yet somehow he found himself thrust into the world of Pokemon, and he just kind of has to comply with the rules. That's just kind of how I've always felt about Mewtwo. He is just such a badass Pokemon in every way, from his design to the way he is, his personality, what he can do, the fact that he can talk. He is not like other Pokemon by any stretch of the imagination, and that is just why I love this character so much. I'm just a huge Mewtwo fan, and this is such a high quality figure. D-Arts Bandai always puts out awesome figures in their D-Arts line, so when they released this Mewtwo, definitely picked him up. Had to. I'd been wanting a quality Mewtwo figure for quite some time, and quite honestly, I didn't know if there was ever going to come out with one, but he did come out a couple of years ago, and maybe not quite that long ago, but he's been out for a little while now. Yeah, I definitely had to pick this guy up. It's, like I said, it's a phenomenal figure, great likeness, pretty much perfect likeness of him. He stands at about 5 inches tall or so, so he's not a real big figure. The D-Arts figures typically are not big figures, but I mean, he's a great size. They didn't skimp on any of the details. He's got a great sculpt. I mean, it looks like Mewtwo. They really got in some great articulation for him. So pretty much anything you could ask for in a Mewtwo figure, they deliver on here. It's an awesome figure. There is a couple of things about him that I don't like, just the design of the figure, but they're not deal breaker things at all. And you know what you pay for this guy. I think I've had this guy for about a year now, and I think I paid $45 for this figure. And I honestly couldn't say whether the price has gone up or whether he's easy to find now or hard to find now. But yeah, he's a great figure, and I don't regret buying him one bit. So let's get into it just a little bit here. So this is the D-Arts Mewtwo, of course. And D-Arts figures typically do have great articulation. They're made really well, really nice solid plastics, and the range of motion on these guys is awesome. I mean, that's what they're designed to do. They're designed to move and get into a lot of dynamic poses, and so they don't spare any expense when it comes to any kind of position that you could that you could imagine. I mean, you'll be able to get any of the D-Arts figures, including this one, into any position that you'd like. I mean, they open it up about as much as they possibly can before the figure starts to look ridiculous. You know, you can bend the joints pretty much as far as they're able to go, and they do most of it with using very minimal amount of ball joints. A lot of them are hinge joints, like at the elbows. There's ball joints in the shoulders here, which work pretty well. You don't get a lot of forward range of motion. You do get a little bit. That's about as much as he comes in with his forward range of motion there. But he does come out really nice and far, up to 90 degrees side laterally. And he has really nice wrist wrist action. It's got just a tiny little ball joint there, so he gets a little bit of wrist action there. But what's really cool is all of his fingers are independently articulated, so he can move all of his fingers in any position that you want. You can spread them out, you can close them in, do like the kind of the closed fist kind of thing. You can you know, do the where he's pointing outward like that. You know, anything you want to do. They give you the really cool hand articulation for this guy. They give you some really nice articulation in the legs. This is actually you know, a great amount of articulation, but it is also one of the areas that I have an issue with the figure. So you get really nice 90 degree straight out, even beyond 90 degree. You can come straight upward with it, and also back as well if you want to do a flying position. Mewtwo, of course, can fly. Pretty much any direction. Coming laterally, he comes out pretty far. You can see he comes out about that far right there, which is really nice for that kind of flayed out stance if you want to do like a real serious, you know, battle stance where he's getting ready to throw a fireball or something like that. I mean, that just like that looks so freaking cool. But as I said, it is one of the areas where I have an issue on this figure, and that is just some of the gapping that you see as you kind of spread out his legs a little bit. And this is, you know, I'm not a professional figure maker, but you know, I think that this is probably the best that they could have done. So I'm not really putting the figure down so much as I'm just saying that you know, it is, if you look real closely at it when he's in this kind of position, you see kind of like the indentation where his leg sits when it's close to the body, and you know, it's on both sides, of course, and it just looks kind of unsightly if you're looking really closely at it. From a distance, you know, you really can't even see it, and even up close it doesn't look terrible. It just, you know, like I said, it just looks kind of unsightly. When his legs are closed like this, that gap really tightens up and you really don't see. It looks great in there. You know, if you just kind of pull it out a little bit, I mean, it's fine. You can really find a nice compromise right there. In through his you know, his reverse jointed legs here, I guess you'd call these leg elbows. Not sure the technical term for what this is called on animals with this bone structure, but he has this very cat-like bone leg type of construction here, and really nice on a ball joint at the bottom, so it twists all the way around 360 degrees, and really nice motion outward, enough to get completely horizontal there for a flying position, and all the way up to a 90 degree, so he can actually sit on the back of his legs like a cat does if you want him to do that. In his toes here, he has a little bit of up and down in his toe, not a whole lot. He does get a twist in there, so if you want to spread his legs out and get a little twist in the toe, he definitely has that going for him, no problem. But aside from that, not a lot of movement in the toe beside the twist, and just the tiniest little bit of up and down in the toe. Most of the leg movement is going to be handled by this center joint right here. Torso twisting, he's got complete range of motion in the torso. He can go all the way around 360 degrees. Nice crunch in there, really well designed, no gaps whatsoever, even if he's all the way crunched back and off to the sides, no gaps at all. Really well done in the torso. He's got no twisting right here at the actual waist, but all of his twisting up here at the chest joint. He has some bicep swivels. You can see the little cuts right there for his bicep swivel. Not entirely necessary in my opinion on this figure, but he does have them anyways, so it's nice. His neck is really nicely articulated. Full range of motion, forward and back, left and right, and off to the sides. Really, really nice. Moving to the back of the figure, this is where things get even cooler with this figure. Now Mewtwo has kind of this, I'm not even real sure what to call this thing, kind of a head tail that connects back into the back plate on his armor right here, and it was done exceptionally well. So you can see when you tilt his head all the way forward, it's still connected in the head. When you tilt all the way back, still connected in the head. You can move his head in any direction, and that thing does not come out of there. It's really, really well done. It's like a piece of rubber. It's not hard plastic. It's actually more of like a flexible rubber, and you can actually pull that thing all the way out of his head, but they made it long enough to allow you to get full range of motion without that thing coming out, and they made it that nice rubber. So really, really nice. You do get a little tiny bit of gapping back there under his neck if you twist the head or tilt the head down too much, but that's not a big deal at all. You might notice this string. I'll explain what this is. It doesn't actually come with the figure. I'll explain what that is in a second. Moving down to the tail, this is the only other issue that I have with the figure, and it's, you know, it's okay. Like it's all, you know, it's fine. It's still really good, but there's just so many cuts in that tail. Like, look how many cuts there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cuts in this tail, and it just looks like he's got a stripy tail. And Mewtwo definitely does not have a stripy tail. Now, of course, the reason they did this is so you can get wild articulation in the tail. I mean, each one of these cuts is individually jointed, so you can get any position with his tail that you want. You know, off to the side, upward like a scorpion, you know, down if you want him to be floating, anything you want. So it's obvious why they did it this way. I just think it's just a little too unsightly for my taste. I would have preferred if they had a really nice solid thin film, like rubber film on the tail, as opposed to, you know, this, all the cuts being visible. You know, create the wire underneath with all the joints, and then just put a nice rubber film over it that's very flexible, so you still get the flexibility in the tail, but you just don't see all the cuts. If it was my decision, you know, if I was making the figure, that's probably the way that I would have opted to do it, or figured out how to somehow get rid of the cuts. But you know, this definitely still works. It doesn't look terrible. It just, you know, you get a lot of cuts in the tail, and that's just kind of how it is. You get great articulation, though. You cannot argue with the articulation you get. It's fantastic, and it doesn't ruin the figure, in my opinion. It's just kind of the way it is, and you know, they could have just made it so that the tail had no articulation whatsoever, and I'd have rather had the cuts with the articulation, to be honest, than one with no cuts and no articulation. So, you know, looking at the glass half full, as I often try to do. I love this figure. I mean, let's look at the detail here. I mean, he's got a very, very accurate face. You know, very accurate sculpt in his face. The eyes, that's unmistakably, that's Mewtwo, especially when you get kind of the downward facing, you know, his head facing down. You get the real sharp look, you know, the real serious, with the horns sticking up, you know, and when he's looking upward, you get kind of the more cat-like features that kind of pop out. Bone structure is spot on. You got his real you know, prominent brow there, brow bone. That's very accurate to the character in the games, in the anime. His chest carapace, or whatever you'd call that, his chest armor is really nicely sculpted, really cool. It looks very organic, and yet you know, very accurate to the game at the same time. He's got kind of a simplistic design overall, but it really works. I mean, he's you know, he's based on a cat, pretty much, so he has very cat-like features, but you know, hence the name Mewtwo. His little cousin Mew is even more like a cat, but he definitely has these cat-like features that you'll notice throughout the figure. But he's just kind of like the most badass looking cat thing that you could ever even imagine. The legs are done well. They're not oversized. They're not too small, not too big. They're just right, and he's of course got the 2 toes here. Very cat-like feet as well, so it looks great. Hands look cool. Fingers are a little funny. I always thought Mewtwo's hands were a little funny with the little balls on his fingers, but you know, it's cool. He's cool. You know, you can definitely do like the Kamehameha type of position if you want, which Mewtwo does in, say, Smash Brothers. And you know, any kind of position, he looks awesome. You can pose him in any way you want. He just looks fantastic. Accessory wise, he's very sparse. He doesn't come with a lot of accessories. He comes with just one Shadow Ball accessory, and that's this guy right here. And if you'll notice on his left palm here, he has a little peg right there that pegs into the bottom of the shadow ball here. And you can position him in a lot of different ways with his shadow ball. You can put the arm up, you know, like he's charging a shadow ball in the air. See if I can get this on there. But yeah, any kind of position that you can imagine with his shadow ball. Like I said, you can do kind of the Kamehameha thing, or you know, something like this where he's getting ready to, you know, charge it in the air and let it go. You know, so lots of options for this guy. The shadow ball accessory is really cool. It's kind of thin in my opinion. I kind of would have liked it if it was more of a sphere, more of a ball kind of thing. I think that would be cool. But I mean, they didn't have to give this to you, so you know, it's a nice little bonus. It's painted well. It's got really nice purples and blues with a really nice transparent clear, almost like a magnified or magnifying glass kind of center. You can actually see right through it, and kind of magnifies whatever you're looking at. If you don't intend on displaying him with the shadow ball at all, he does also come with an extra hand that does not have the peg on the bottom of it. So if you don't want the peg to be showing at all, then you definitely can use the other hand and not have to worry about that. So you can pose this guy pretty well thanks to his tail. His tail kind of acts as a stand. If you kind of put it down, you know, I'm not touching the figure at all, and he stands up really nicely thanks to his tail on the ground right there. He does come with a stand. This Pokeball clear stand does come with the figure, and it comes with a you know, a little arm that is, you know, a very typical kind of figure stand that has a little clamp on the end of it. If you want to position him flying or off the stand, or you know, levitating or anything like that, he does come with that option. But what I opted to do rather is I made this little string right here. I went to the fabric store, and I just picked up this little string. It's a very high quality little string. It's low profile, so it's not like jute or anything like that. It's just a nice little nylon string. And so what I did is I actually tucked the string, and you lift up his torso here, and just kind of tuck the string underneath his torso. Let's see if I could slip that under there, so that it disappears, and kind of pull it kind of tight there, so it disappears under his torso. So now you can't even see the string at all from the front. And through the back, it just kind of comes up really nicely from the back here. So if you look at it from the back, you can see the string coming up just out of the back part of the top. But what I like to do is actually hang this guy. So I just find a little hook or something, or on my figure stand, I'll just put a little nail on the wall, and I'll actually just hang him up so that he's actually, you know, floating high into the air. You know, you can hang him on a tree or whatever you want to do, you know. Put him in kind of a levitating position, so I like to put his feet downward like this, so it looks like he's levitating. And then, you know, just really get some menacing looking poses like he's in the air looking down. And then just suspend him from wherever I want to suspend him at. Any hook will do, so long as his tail clears and everything. But yeah, you can see how it's so cool how you can suspend him up like that. The very simple little makeshift string suspension system. Just the way he's designed with that joint right there is very handy for doing this. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Otherwise, he comes with the stand, like I said, and it's more than adequate to put him in a flying position. His head tilts back and everything tilts back, where you can get him in a really nice flying position like this. So very cool. This figure is awesome, guys. Like I said, I'm not real sure what he's going for these days. I'd have to look it up on Google, but I looked at him on my shelf, and I figured I want to do a review or show you guys this figure. If you love Pokemon, if you love Mewtwo, look for this guy. Try to pick him up. I'm sure you can find him on eBay or you know, any other toy store that you know, restocks regularly. He's an awesome figure, well worth the money. I don't imagine he's too terribly expensive, but Mewtwo is extremely popular, so pick him up if you find him. Can't recommend him enough. It's a great figure, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you didn't like this video, go ahead and hit the dislike button. But if you do, I would only ask that you leave a comment and let me know what you did not like about the video, just so I can grow a little bit more. Let me know how I can make these videos better for you guys. Any comments, suggestions, anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I love hearing from you guys, love hearing feedback, and like I said, I love growing and learning and doing these things better for you guys. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Xailas out.